The house had 2 stories,
Both better than this one.
including a basement and an attic. He knew that Jeff was most likely on the 2nd floor. That's where all of the bedrooms were. That's kind of random.
I guess he knew.
So how would he know that?
Tucker closed his eyes as he tried not to think about all the times he and Abby had snuck out here to make out in the master bedroom. The scary house.
That's why, that's exactly where you want to make
Didn't
out.
they make out in her safe house
Yes.
an hour ago,
Yeah, they did.
an hour ago in the story? No, maybe a month ago.
Okay.
Strangely enough, the house was fully furnished with ancient furniture and old photographs. Every time he looked, it made him
Look at the next sentence.
It was the perfect place for a killer to hang around.
Of course.
But there was no electricity. So how in the world could he survive here?
Period.
Yeah, how in the world could you live without electricity?
Darkness.
Wow. He was a creature of the darkness.
That's why.
Creature of the night.
He was.
After finding the stairway, this is like an infinite act. After finding the stairway, he started to climb it.
Is this still Act 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Then there's an
God.
Act 3 and an Act 2.5 and a prologue. Or an
Epilogue.
epilogue.
We got
Jesus.
more.
After finding the stairway, he started to climb it only to slip on some sort of dark liquid. Let me guess.
Gatorade.
Yeah.
Monster.
Blood. Luckily, he caught himself on the railing, but that was also covered in warm liquid. Gatorade.
No.
Tucker quickly pulled his hand away, knowing what it very well could be. He tiptoed up the stairs, but stopped at the top. He didn't keep walking up the stairs. That had finished. He cocked his head to the side and listened. There was a sound coming from his right. A very distinct sound.
Like something. Okay. What distinct sound though? Because look at the next.
Billy Bones.
The Billy Bones guy comes out. That'd be the ultimate twist. Eventually, is that where I am? No,
No,
that's not where I
very
am.
distinct.
Something very heavy was being dragged across
That's
the
not
floor.
distinct at all.
Tucker gulped and headed towards the sound, that awful sound. Eventually, he could see a flickering light coming from a room at the end of the hallway. There was also what Tucker assumed to be a blood trail and bloody footprints leading into that room.
The blood.
The dragging sound got louder as he reached the door. Tucker leaned against the wall next to the doorway and composed himself. He wanted so badly to bide his time and wait for the police, whom he had called right before heading out. They had sounded skeptical, and he knew that they would probably take their time in getting there. No, they wouldn't. Or a killer right under their noses. And in the most obvious place this whole time?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Losers.
I know better.
Still, he was sure they would come. But he couldn't wait for whenever that may be at the risk of Jeff escaping. So with a trembling heart, he turned and stepped into the room.
Okay, Edgar Allan Poe.
The room looked like any other bedroom. Except for a few things. For
It's
one,
not a bedroom.
Yeah. For one, there was nothing in it but a large bed, a desk with a computer and one candle on it, and another smaller doorway.
He was playing
That
Overwatch.
literally sounds like my room. That sounds like what's in my room right now. A large bed and a desk with a computer and one candle on it. That's legitimately what's in my room.
There's a candle in the room?
Yeah. And another smaller doorway. Wait, okay, that's not in my room.
Yeah.
But from what Tucker could make out in the dim light, the walls and floors were covered in splotches of blood.
Like your room.
Like my room. Some of them spelling out actual words.
Not like your
my
room.
room. Oh, not like my room, sorry.
No. Oh.
Tucker couldn't read what the words said,
Wait,
but
the
it
words?
wasn't important to him at the moment. What was important were the 2 figures in the room that had stopped moving as soon as he stepped in. Okay. The first figure he saw was a young woman lying on the floor. She was dead, but they stopped moving as soon as he got into the room.
It's fine.
Oh, I understand now.
Okay.
She was dead, her body nearly cut in 2, and its contents spilling out around her. Can't have our final episode without a gore description.
Of course.
He could see her empty eyes in the candlelight, wide and staring. She looked to be very beautiful.
Great observation.
Okay. With long, blood-stained blonde hair and gray eyes. Very beautiful.
You know, when you see corpses,
When you see blood-stained blonde hair, you think that's beautiful.
Wow.
Her hand was being held in another hand, belonging to the one who had dragged her broken body all the way up the
Hand in
stairs
hand.
to this very room.
Which was belonging to another hand.
It
And belonging to another hand.
It seemed to be in the middle of dragging her to the 2nd floor because its hand had frozen in the middle of reaching for the doorknob. The figure was standing just out of the candle's range, so it was consumed by shadows, but Tucker knew exactly who it was.
Jeff!
The figure dropped the girl's hand and let the other hand fall to its side. Wait, what?
I don't know.
That makes no sense. It just stood there for a moment,
For a second.
and then it began to chuckle quietly. So,
I see you didn't take her warning to heart.
It wasn't really her warning, bro. Came a voice that sounded like it would better suit a serpent than a human being.
Yeah, that sounds like a serpent. Sure.
Tucker flinched at the sound of that voice. It sounded much more malicious than what he remembered, but he could still tell who it belonged to.
What have you done with her?
He demanded, sounding much more confident than he actually was.
That was pretty confident.
You should have stayed away. I might have left you alone, but now...
You have to read that again. No one's gonna understand that.
Just put it on the screen.
Okay.
The figure was silent for a moment. Then he stepped over the corpse and into the light.
Stepped
He
over
was
the
dead.
chorus and gave the verse.
Tucker sucked in a breath as he saw Jeff for the first time in months. The boy he had known in school was normal compared to the creature that stood before him now. The long, unkempt black hair and bone-white skin were still the same, but now his face was horribly disfigured. His eyelids were gone, leaving behind emotionless eyes with black rings around them that seemed to stare right into Tucker's soul.
Okay.
His
sure.
nose was gone too, but for some reason, there was no hole where it used to be. Wait, what?
There was no thing.
Just
there.
a small white
So he has no
hump.
nose.
Is this Voldemort?
His
Kinda.
lips were also gone, so he no longer needed Joker makeup to give himself a permanent smile. That doesn't make any sense. His clothes were the same, though. A white hoodie with fresh blood on it and black pants. Harry Potter, my boy, I can touch you.
Jesus Christ! What happened to you?
Wait, Jesus is in the story now? Jesus, what happened here?
Jesus, you really got screwed up.
Tucker asked, more than a little shaken.
What happened?
Jeff cocked his head back and let out a throaty laugh that sent chills down Tucker's
Not a
spine.
laugh.
She happened.
He said at last. Wendy? Jeff said nothing.
Why did you take her? Why did you kill her parents? What did you do to Abby?
Jeff cocked his head to the side, and his evil grin seemed to grow wider.
You want answers? Well, guess I can confide in you, since you won't be around for much longer.
That's always what they do.
Yeah, Tucker wondered if he should just run. No. If he left now, he might be able to make it out of there alive. But he couldn't. He needed to know. Why? Besides, the police should be on their way by now, right?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know. Instead of immediately talking, Jeff casually turned and picked up the girl from the floor and placed her on the bed,
Everybody walk
carefully not to spill anything. He then sat down at his desk and faced Tucker, who still remained in the doorway.
All right.
I'll have some fun with her later.
Then he dies.
Now where should I begin? Oh yes, ever since I was 12, I've had these urges. The urges to kill, specifically. I loved it. And ever since my first kill, I've been dying to do it more, and more, and more, and more, and more, and more. It gave me joy like no other to take someone's life. That is, until I came here.
What?
Great story.
What?
This is great. This is great.
That's not Jeff's backstory.
Apparently it is.
Tucker was only mildly interested in what he had to say.
Are you kidding me?
He wasn't at all surprised that Jeff was psychotic.
We already knew this, yes.
What if he was surprised
Isn't that
Jeff was
psychotic? That's psychopathic, but okay.
He only
That's-
wanted to
that's-
stall and find out if Abby was still alive. But then he thought maybe there was a way he could take Jeff down himself, so he decided to listen more carefully.
Great. Good to know you're listening.
As you can imagine,
Who, me? Or Tucker?
Tucker.
I'm like, what?
You know.
as you can imagine, for 6 years I've been on the run from my past. I traveled from city to city, had my fill of fun, then move on. When I got here, it was easy to make up some story about living with my great aunt. In reality, I just hid out at some rich old
Not good language.
house who I had kept hostage for a while.
Tucker stopped
So-
himself from rolling his eyes.
It's a really bad story.
He absolutely hated Jeff, a person who would kill without remorse or regard for someone's life. But in order to find out what happened, he had to keep listening. All right, here we go.
I enrolled myself in school to scout out some potential victims.
Jeff went on.
I usually try to pick people who I can gain something from, but then I met Wendy. She came frolicking into my life without warning, and suddenly everything had changed. She was
Okay.
changing me.
Suddenly, everything had changed.
She was changing me. At first,
I read ahead. I don't know. No. I'm backing out of this.
We have an Eric the
You're Jeff
voices.
now. At first, I fancied her as my first victim.
Oh no.
Backing out.
Right here.
No.
Just read it.
Right here.
You're reading it. Yours.
She was changing me. At first, I fancied her as my first victim here.
That was a good Jeff.
But I actually began to fall for
Oh fuck.
fall for her. Several times I tried to kill her. First being after we had sex with her.
That's why.
Why'd we have to give him an old man voice? That's so bad.
For the first time, just
Why
move
does this
on.
always happen when Eric gets
good as
like,
she
to
lay
the
there.
story?
Every time I come here, we just get the worst Jeff the Killer
Love
stories.
stories.
Oh my god.
She lay there, fast asleep, and I straddled her. And then I pulled the knife out from underneath the pillow. But as I raised the knife to stab her in the heart, I hesitated. I saw how beautiful she looked, sleeping so peacefully, and I hesitated.
I can't read it now.
Tucker, give him the Grammy.
That was really
Give him
good.
the Grammy
That was really good.
for best rock album. Tucker noted how Jeff's voice had changed over the course of him telling this story.
It did. It did.
It almost sounded like someone else had taken over the voice.
Snapple fact number 95.
Snapple fact-
Jeff the Killer is Ron Jeremy.
He almost sounded normal, like a normal person, struggling with their feelings. Too bad he wasn't a normal person, and this wasn't a normal love story.
Yeah.
And he waited.
And he waited. Go.
I hated myself for it. I was starting to slip. I went on
stripping.
killing
Caught
sprees
stripping.
less and less. I began to spend more
Jeff the
time
Killer
with her.
slipping.
Wow! The second time I was planning to kill her, she told me she loved me, and I couldn't bring myself to use the axe I had hidden underneath the table to hack her to pieces. And the third time, I was really going to do it. And
Tucker perked up. Tucker perked up again.
It's a change of
At the
tone.
change of tone in Jeff's voice. So he's like dozing off. He figured he knew
Since
what
Jeff's
story.
voice changed again, should you do Jeff now for a minute?
No.
Okay, fine.
He figured what story Jeff was about to tell now.
wow!
I know, it's hard to do.
I had to get rid of her so that I would be able to freely do what I wanted. I couldn't allow myself to have feelings for her. It was changing me, and I didn't like it. So I planned everything out so nothing would go wrong this time. While she was out partying, I killed the parents and waited for her to come home. When she got there, oh, her face was priceless.
America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh!
Whoa!
Oh!
It filled my heart with such clean tears and so much pain. Yes, the feeling was back again. I knew I could do it this time. So I followed her. Oh, ah!
Jeff's
Don't
scream.
throw things around me. I followed her all the way here, wounding her in the process. I didn't want any chances for her to escape, so I made sure she would be able to run far. I threw a knife at her from like 50 feet away.
I'm like 300 feet away. Tucker perked up.
No, Tucker
Oh,
nodded.
sorry, I thought I perked up again. Tucker nodded solemnly.
Tucker's
he-
dropping perks.
Tucker perked up again. Tucker nodded solemnly, remembering the wound on the back of Wendy's knee that never quite healed. How? What?
Just like her broken heart.
Oh, how would you... Wait. What?
Did Tucker really know?
I guess
her?
there was another... Oh, no, yeah, because Wendy
Yeah, Wendy
didn't die
was still
that night.
alive.
Wendy didn't die that
But she
night.
didn't come back.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
That was before.
She came back.
That,
later.
no, that's the strange thing about this continuity.
She came
After
back-
that event,
And then she disappeared.
after that event, she never told anyone about that.
Yeah. That's what the prologue
Okay,
was.
I mean, yeah, I'm
Think about it
following you.
chronologically. Prologue,
just-
aftermath.
That's just like
Well, I thought that they were going to be smart or something
there
like
are
that.
so
Who cares?
many similar events that it just jumbles up.
All right, Jeff.
Where the hell is he? Oh, okay.
I was so ready to enter, but then...
Jeff scratched his arm and twitched nervously.
And she fucking kissed me!
and the urge was completely gone. It was such a shock that I couldn't do anything. I just had to get away from her.
Tucker shook his head.
Down!
Tucker shook his head. No quotation marks. If only you had let it change you. You could have been happy with her, but instead...
I went back to the old lady's house. I couldn't stay there long because the smell coming from our basement was starting to bug the neighbors. They were like, God, you left your casserole in the oven, you stupid idiot! I looked at myself in the mirror and cursed myself for being so
I
weak.
put a curse on myself.
I knew I had to do something drastic. Think.
That was way too loud.
The poor audio.
Clipping.
I mean, he wrote it in all caps if he
You're
didn't
right.
want me to do it.
You're right. You're
And
right.
I knew it was my lips that had betrayed me.
Oh my god, this
My
is so dumb.
big, beautiful labia.
My
How's he
soft
saying all
lips.
this?
I had to get rid of them. So I did. And while I was at it, why not punish myself further? I burned off my eyelids. I had no real use for them now. And now I would never lose sight of my desires. So I cut off my dick.
Jeff's serpent-like voice had returned by now.
I guess I can do Tucker now. And your nose?
Tucker asked, grimly.
That's his voice, I guess.
Oh, just a bonus to seal to you. You know, horcruxes and things.
Like you do.
Jeff then stood up and looked Tucker square in the face.
Hi,
Square.
my face is square.
You might actually have to split this part into 2 episodes.
I don't care, it's great.
Jeez. Is this still number 2?
Yes, this is still like 2. This is the longest act.
Oh, boy. There was nothing stopping me. Because I'm having a good time,
I knew you were gonna do that.
I was transformed.
Transformer?
I just needed to do one more thing to make sure I never went back. This time,
What was that?
Keep going.
Alright, go on.
This time, I kept a safe distance from her. Instead, I sent out threatening emails. Like,
Why? Okay. Why didn't he just move to another town or
Like-
city?
ha, lol, your mom gay. And she responded, no, you.
Oh, got him.
And then I said, lol, your mom dead.
No, you.
And stalked her at night. I wanted to weaken her resolve by slowly driving her insane. It worked. By the time I was through with her, she had no will to live and accepted her fate without a struggle. I had won.
Tucker glared at him.
What did you do to her?
What do you think?
I don't know.
Jeff said teasingly.
Oh no. I took her.
You know,
You know.
Tucker took an angry step forward but immediately regretted it.
And so did I.
And Abby? Why did you go after her? Cha-cha-cha-cha.
She went investigating, just like I knew she would. And found out too much. I did the same thing to her, only she was much stronger than Wendy.
Like Wendy said.
Well, she eventually realized she couldn't escape from me. I'm Batman. She should have added Wendy's warning.
Tucker felt sick. His head began to swim. He swayed back, and he swayed back and forth on his feet. How could something so evil exist in this world? By this time, he knew they were dead. But still, he had to ask once more.
Where are they? Where are Abby and Wendy now? Let's go to them live.
Jeff's unholy grin grew so wide that it nearly split his face in half. And he gestured around the room.
Acha.
Why? They're here in my pants.
Jeff produced a large knife from the pocket of his hoodie and advanced towards him. Tucker knew what that meant. It meant that the police weren't going to make it in time after all. Instead of running like his subconscious was currently screaming for him to do, he simply closed his eyes and thought of Abby.
You're gonna get to say the famous line.
Oh, right here with us.
Jeff went on. is a harsh whisper.
Is.
You can see them when you want. All you have to do is go to sleep.
There it is.
And that's not all.
There it is. Roll credits. Oh,
Except we can't.
Oh,
and that's the end of Act 2.
2. All right.
Tune in next time for Act 2.5.
And 3, maybe.
Stop fucking around, that's my fucking bullshit. 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 Stop fucking around, that's my fucking bullshit.